5 ways being selfish can actually improve your mental health. When a man starts out to build a world, he first must start with himself, by Langston Hughes. So I absolutely love this quote, and I love it so much that it's actually in the email signature of all my emails. And the reason why I love it is because it talks about how you have to build within before you can expect to build outwardly. You know, for a lot of people, they're so focused on helping other people that they're not helping themselves, which is the number one asset that these people need to depend on. But yet, people pleasing has gotten in the way. You know, we tend to have this fear of letting people down that we actually end up letting ourselves down. And when we're letting ourselves down, how can you expect to be the best version of yourself for other people? You know, I want to bring you guys back to that quote and really give examples about it, because I want this quote to stick with you. So think about this, right? If I'm a therapist, and let's say, and actually I am, and let's say I'm struggling with depression, and if I've been struggling with depression for a year or 2 years or whatever the case may be, how can I expect to help other people who are going through the same problem when I'm not operating at my 100%? Think about that, guys, right? If I'm not in a good place, how can I expect to help put this person in a good place as well? I'll give you guys another example. Let's say I'm a fitness coach, right? So I help train people to get their bodies right, get their nutrition right. You know, let's say that's my job. If I show up to my fitness sessions overweight, not knowing how to do things like the deadlift or the bench press, right? So let's say my form is really bad. If I don't know how to put together a nutrition plan, let's just say I'm just all over the place as a fitness coach. Person that I'm working out is going to look at me and go, are you even an expert, or should you be the one getting coached, right? You see, you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself before you go out there and you help others. You know, I'll give one more example. You know, let's take finance. If you're someone that's a finance coach and you're coming to the sessions giving people ideas, strategies to help improve their finances, lower their debt, but yet you're up to your neck in debt, how can you expect them to believe you when you say, hey, these are the strategies that work? See, what I'm trying to say is that, guys, we as people have to be in a good place with ourselves so that when we go out and we help others, we're able to do it at a high level. And that's what I love about this quote by Langston Hughes, right? So again, when a man starts out to build a world, he starts first with himself. This is so true, and I'm gonna go through this podcast episode helping you guys to see why being selfish is the number one thing you need to do right now to improve your mental health. So with that being said, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I want you to be a doer and not a dabbler. I want you to be someone that takes action, and it first starts off with something as small as hitting the subscribe button. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and with that being said, we're gonna get to point number 1. So the first way being selfish can help you to improve your mental health is that by being selfish, you are setting a barrier against people pleasing. So what is people pleasing? People pleasing is a set of behaviors that one takes that's gonna help other people, while at the same time it destroys or it lets down themselves, and you're doing it at a consistent rate. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that you're doing things that helps other people, and it's also at the same time taking away from the things that you're trying to do. That can sometimes even just be your mental health, right? So what I've seen from other people is that when they're on zero, right, they will find themselves trying to give or pour from an empty cup. And we know that that's just something you can't do. But yet people may be so in danger, in fear, anxious about letting someone down that they will go through hell and high water to make sure that they don't feel that, so that they avoid any type of shame, anger, or frustration. And by doing that consistently, as I said earlier, it's going to pull away at you. It's going to eat away at you. And thus it's going to leave you probably even lower than negative, or lower than 0%, if you will. And that's what I see from a lot of people, is this fear of letting people down, this belief that others won't have another solution that they can find, or believing that people don't have it within themselves to find an answer that they need. And as a result, we give and we pour from an empty cup. And this people pleasing, it just ruins us from a mental health standpoint. You know, I even had one situation with a client who was thinking about taking their own life because they were just so drained. They were unfortunately the caretakers for one of their siblings, and as a result, they had to take care of their kids as well, right? So they're taking care of their kids, so their nieces and nephews, they're taking care of their sibling, and they only have so much money to do this, right? So finances were becoming a really, really big thing. But yet she was just giving and giving and giving, and one of my biggest things, and one of my biggest things for you listening to this, was that I wanted her and I want you to imagine what it would be like to people please, but for yourself. In other words, imagine what it would be like if you took that same level of energy and you poured it into you. If you started to please yourself, what would that do for your life? How would that feel? That's what I want you to do. So by being selfish, it sets up a safeguard. It's like a barrier that helps protect you from people pleasing, which is again an activity that you do to help boost and fulfill everybody's cup, while at the same time you're draining your own cup at a consistent pace. Main point number 2 on how being selfish can improve your mental health is that it actually improves your level of goal attainment. So by being selfish, what it does is it helps you to lock in and put all your time and energy towards the things that matter to you. And we see this a lot from actors, artists, and even athletes. These are people that have told stories about how they've been, let's say, in a situation where they weren't the best friend, if you will. And actually, I will even say that some of them have even said that they weren't the best fathers or mothers because they had to put so much time to their craft. And that can be tough. And I probably will do another podcast about that, because not all goals are worth your happiness, right? Your happiness in other areas. But there's some things that we have to unfortunately cut off. There's certain people, certain activities even, that we have to let go of in order for us to reach our goals. You know, what's funny, there's this point guard that plays in the NBA. His name is Jalen Brunson, all right? And he plays for the New York Knicks. So he gave a story recently on his podcast where he said back in high school, his father, who also played in the NBA, told him that there's 3 things that you have in front of you. One of them is school, the second one is basketball, and then the third one is your friends. And he said that you can only pick 2 of the 3. And Jalen Brunson, being the guy that he was, he picked school and he picked basketball. So he said, hey, friends is something that I can't really put much time into. And what's funny is after he said that point, he said his true friends, they really understood that, hey, Jalen's not always going to be available, right? He has bigger fish to fry. So what I'm trying to say to you is that there may come a time and a place where putting your goals first is the only option that you have in order to be successful. And if you really want to be successful at whatever it is that you're trying to do, you have to be willing to be a little selfish. And when you do that, you really will see who's really willing to be there for you and who's not. So my thing for you, focus on your goals and everything else will fall into place, even the things that you initially had to let go of. All right, point number 3. So the third way that being selfish can actually improve your mental health is that it ensures self-care, right? It ensures that you will take time to take care of yourself. You know, I do this really, really well, I have to admit, and I do this well because my job as a therapist is just so taxing. So for me, if you're a client of mine, you know that I have one rule, and that rule is that I do not see clients before 10 a.m. And the reason why is because when I wake up, so that's sometimes at 5 or 5:30 a.m., I take that time from when I wake up to about 9:45, 9:50 a.m. to work on me, work on my business, spend time with family. Whatever it is that I want to do is accessible during that time. Even if I want to go to the beach, I can do it during that window. And that window is just so vital because it recharges me to be able to give to the 7 or sometimes 5 people that I'm meeting that day. But if I took away that time, I wouldn't be the version of myself that my clients need me to be. And it's the same thing for you. You know, I'm so strict about this rule that even recently I had a client ask me, hey coach, can I meet you at 9 a.m. because my job hours, they changed and I can't really make our sessions anymore. And I told him, no, I can't. And it sounds a little harsh, but once he understood why I did that and the benefits of it, he understood that, hey, coach has his rules and I can't be mad at that. And actually, our sessions ended. He had to find another therapist. And that works for both of us because if he's able to find a therapist that can meet at his hours that he needs, great. And for me, I can find another client that can fit within my schedule. And that's great, right? It can be a win-win situation when you decide to be selfish. It doesn't always have to be this bad thing. Now, my question for you is, how are you being selfish when it comes to your self-care? Do you have a routine that you are able to follow in order to make sure that you're mentally in a good place? If you don't have something that strict, I will advise you, just pick 1 hour, right? So from all the hours throughout all the week, you can find 1 hour, even if it's on the weekend, that you can stick and hold true for yourself. do that. And when you're enjoying that hour, don't focus on, oh man, I could be helping these people. I could be doing this task or this thing for my business or for work. Like this, I need you to remember that this hour is actually going to recharge you. Just like you plug your iPhone into a charger, it's going to recharge you so that you can be at your best level when you go back and you start doing these things that you left undone. So this third point is all about ensuring that you take self-care. And the best way to do that is to be selfish. Main point number 4, and I kind of touched on this a little bit, but by being selfish, it improves your mental health because it cuts off the leeches in your life. And yes, I said leeches. Guys, I hate to say it, but there's people even in your family who only reaches out to you when they need something, when they need money or need a favor or whatever the case may be. And here's the thing, you can help them, right? But you can't be so available every single hour of the day. Because by doing that, you're not being true to yourself and giving your goals, as I mentioned in the earlier point, you're not giving your goals a chance to be born, to be realized, if you will. Guys, trust me, people have a way of finding their own solutions when their back is up against the wall. That is just a true fact of life. That's a true fact of us as humans. We are very resilient individuals. We're very resilient creatures, if you will. And trust me when I say it, when you say no to someone, they'll find another way. They may ask you a second or third time. They may be upset with you, but trust me, they'll find a way to solve the problem that they're going through. But I need you to have the courage to tell people no. And when you keep saying no, what you're gonna do is you're gonna filter out all the leeches in your life, and you're gonna have behind this amazing set of assets. So people that are actually adding to your life that you can use whenever you're feeling down, whenever you're feeling low, or you need to practice self-care, as I mentioned in the previous point. But right now, the waters are a little murky because we don't have an appropriate filter system. So see being selfish as a filtering system to filter out the leeches in your life and leave behind only the assets that are gonna actually add to your life and not subtract it. And then main point number 5, and if you made it this far and you did not hit the subscribe button, you're doing yourself a disservice. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can get my next episode. And trust me when I say this next episode is going to be really great. It's going to change your life. So main point number 5 of why being selfish is actually good for your mental health is that it allows you to be more selfless with your giving. You know, I was at a conference the other day, or last week, if you will, and one of my friends said something that was really, really great. He said, profit makes impact. And I sat and I thought about it, and I had to ask him, like, what do you mean by that? Well, he said, when you're willing to charge a lot for your services, you're able to make so much money that you can actually pour back into the people that you're helping to serve. You know, as a therapist, and I can even say this, let me get a little more, let's say, a little bit more into like sensitive topics, if you will. Okay, so I'm gonna bring religion in. So if I'm a pastor, or let's say you take some of these churches out here, right? So whether it's a church, a synagogue, a temple, like whatever the religion is, it is important for these churches, right? These places of worship to ask for money from their people, from their congregation, so that they can take this money and go back into the world and spread their message even more. It is very hard for a pastor or a pope or whatever the religious person is, it's very hard for them to do that if they don't have the resources. And when I say resources, I mean money. But for a lot of people, they may feel like it's bad for them to ask for money. Or if you're charging a lot for service, you have some people that may say, hey, you're being selfish, you're being greedy, like why are you charging so much? Well, when you charge a lot, and this is kind of me saying like when you're selfish, and I'm not saying charging a lot is selfish, so just bear with me. But when you're selfish or when you're charging a lot of money, you're able to give at levels that other people are not able to give. And it's because you're demanding, you're collecting so much resource. So when we take, let's say your time, right? When you're being selfish with your time, like I was with that client, and I'm being selfish, I'm building myself up to now go and serve those 5, 6, or 7 people that I have on my list. If I'm a pastor, or let's even say me as an entrepreneur, if I'm charging a lot and I'm making a lot of money, I have a lot more reach with this money, right? Even if I'm using Facebook ads, right? Like something that's real simple, I'm able to take my message, push it a lot further because I have the resources to do it. So again, point number 5, you need to be more selfish to actually help you to be more giving. It sounds backwards, but it works. And the way that this improves your mental health is that it actually goes to this idea of altruism. Okay, so altruism, you can Google that. But basically what that is it's that feeling people get when they're giving, when they're being really selfless with their time, money, and their resources. Okay, so what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna go over the 5 main reasons why being selfish is actually a benefit to you and how it actually improves your mental health. So point number 1 that I made is that it serves as a barrier against people pleasing. All right, it's literally like a filter, guys, and I need you guys to do that. Point number 2 is that it improves goal attainment, and the way it does that is by increasing your focus on your goals. We can't be focused on everybody that asks us for time, for money, for us to do something. We can do that, yes, but we have to have a limit on how much time, money, and energy that we're giving to people so that we can focus on our goals. Point number 3 is that being selfish actually ensures self-care. And this is something that I do every day from when I wake up until 10 a.m. Point number 4 is that it cuts the leeches off in your life. So as I said, it really serves as a filter to make sure that you filter out all the liabilities that are in your life, and it helps you to keep all the assets in your life, because there may be a time that you need to draw upon these assets because you're in, let's just say, not the best of places. You need someone to plug into you and to recharge. And the way you're going to do that is by making sure that you keep the assets in front of you and you're letting go of the liabilities. And then point number 5 is that it allows you to be more selfless with your giving. And as I said by Tony Robbins, he says that profit really makes a difference in the lives of others. And the way you do that is by simply collecting a lot of money, right? So again, that could be being selfish with your time or whatever it is. But when you're grabbing all these resources, you can then put them back into the world. But if you're not willing to collect those resources in terms of time, money, or your own energy, then it's hard for you to go back into that world and be very productive or effective in helping to change people's lives. So you really need to make sure that you're demanding a high price for your time, your money, or whatever it is, so that you can, again, just be the best at giving and changing other people's lives. You can only do that by having valuable resources. So with that being said, my name is Coach Wells, and thank you for checking out this podcast. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. All right, I'll see you later.